Welcome back to ATL Day Ones. I am Tenitra. This is Jarvis, and we're glad that you guys are with us on a Friday, beautiful day in the A, beautiful day to talk about the Hawks. But we also want to let you know that any time and any place and anywhere you get your podcast is where you can find this podcast, as well as all of the podcasts that are in the Locked On Sports Network here in Atlanta. So, any audio platform, you'll find us there. Also on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, like, and follow us there as well. As we will be, speaking of following the progress of hopefully what is a dub for the Hawks tonight. They're back home at State Farm Arena. Hopefully the home cooking will kick in tonight and get them back in this series. Now, normally, Jarvis, when we break it down, we go offense, we go defense, and then we look at our potential X factor. I'm just going to be honest with you. To me, the entire team is an X factor. Like, I believe
Yes.
that every single player on this team has to step up. Even when I look at, and we'll start with Trae Young and Bogdan Bogdanovic, because at least from an offensive perspective, they were the ones who really led the charge. And then from a defensive perspective, that was really kind of John Collins with a little side shout out to DeLon Wright. But ultimately,
Hmm.
I feel like the whole team is an X factor in terms of what
Right.
is going to make the difference against the Heat tonight.
No doubt about it. And John Chuck, we're talking about on Hitting Hard with John Chuck. We check him out on Locked On Sports Atlanta on YouTube right here. Make sure you like and follow and subscribe to this channel. He talked about it as well. All hands on deck. That's the term you're using. I use it as well.
Mhm.
All hands have to be on deck because when you
Yes.
think about what the magnitude of this game, right? Because if you go down 0-3, I mean, as much as I like to watch the team and believe in this team, this series is over,
Yeah.
and it may be over. You talking about a sweep potentially at that point,
Yes.
and not even going back to Miami. But that's the thing that's the goal, to get back to Miami is
Hmm.
as far as what the goal should be. But I think that the main thing though is that the Hawks can't turn the ball over because during the regular season they led the NBA in the lowest turnover rate,
Yes.
at 12%. So in these last couple of games, they've had turnover rates at 17% and 18%. That is
Hmm.
unacceptable. That can't
Yeah.
happen again. And I think that and it starts with Trae. Trae
Hmm.
cannot turn the ball over. You can't get into a point where you're taking ill-advised shots. Now, granted, he'll hit some. We've talked about that ad nauseum on this show, but I think that you have to kind of pick and
Yeah.
choose your spots. And I think that if he does that, I think the Hawks will be in good shape offensively.
Yeah. And I think part of the way that Trey can ensure that he protects the ball better, which ultimately, when you have half the turnovers from the team's 19 turnovers in the game two loss, that speaks volumes. And one of the things he has to do, he's dealt with the trap and he's dealt with double teams all season.
Yes.
But where I saw he really was effective, whether it was with the Cavs or the Hornets, was quickly identifying the trap, quickly identifying the double team, and quickly identifying who to get the ball to out of that trap, and being very much being crisp with where you get that ball out, because we know that the Heat, they not only have active hands, but they have high hands. That's a very long team, if you will. They stretch themselves all across the floor, but they're also very, very tall compared
Right.
to Trae Young, just to be honest. So he has to really think about think quickly, though. He's got to make quick decisions on where that ball is going to go. And if he starts to do that, I think one of the key pieces there as well is the team committing to spacing out and really
Right.
committing to continuing to move the ball. So once Trey gets out of that trap, or once he gets out of that double team, then that whoever gets that ball next, if you've got a good shot, take it. But if you don't, go ahead and pass it to the third option. That's another thing that the Hawks
Hmm.
are really, really good about. They're excellent at ball movement and excellent at spacing and really distribution of the ball. So I want to see a little bit more of that. But like you said, it starts off with Trey, and I do believe it starts off with good decision making. Also, I think that if Trey gets into more of, and really the Hawks offense gets into more of a run and gun mode,
Hmm.
they're not going to necessarily win this game with some type of defensive gem that's going to rival what the Heat do. However,
Right.
the
Yep.
Hawks have always been hovering in the top three or in the top five in terms of offensive efficiency in the league. So that's what you want to take advantage of. Now, the good news is there really wasn't a lot of disparity between fast break points for the Hawks and Heat, about a 3 or 4 point disparity in game two. What you need to do is make that a disparity, because
Yeah.
if you can get out, if the Hawks can get out on the break, number one, playing that fast pace means that they're going to have more opportunities to shoot. And I think they're also going to be able to get more effective shots, maybe the shot selection, especially inside, which is where
Mm-hmm.
I really, really think they can take advantage of the Heat. That's going to give them opportunities to go inside. Or if you're going to go fast break and then get inside and realize that they got back on defense, hopefully kick that ball out to the three and then have somebody make the Heat pay.
I think the ball movement piece that you bring up is very important, right? Here's why. I think that, and we got a little peek of it,
Mm-hmm.
into it in game two,
Yeah.
where you saw Herter bringing the ball up, and
Mm-hmm.
you had Trae working off the ball.
Off
I
the
think
ball.
that
Yes.
off
Yes.
ball piece is something that can really throw Miami off, because that's all you really want to do when a team
Yeah.
is as aggressive as Miami and
Mm-hmm.
thinking that, hey, the Hawks, here's what the Hawks are going to do, and they're going to
Yes.
stick to it and figure it out. If
Mm-hmm.
you throw that at them, throw another monkey wrench into
Mm-hmm.
the fold, and get them to thinking and
Yes.
not being as aggressive, and so you can tone it down some. Then you
Mm-hmm.
start to get them to thinking, and then once you get them to thinking
Yep.
defensively, if you're thinking, you're losing more than likely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that, with the quickest decision that Trae is able to make
Mm-hmm.
in those spots, and like I said, making the right ones,
Yes.
I think the Hawks can be on to something offensively and defensively. I think that the Hawks need to continue to make sure Bam doesn't get into a space
Yeah.
where he's starting to take over as well. And if they're
Yeah.
able to do that, I think that'll be a key for Hawks defensively. Like I said, don't have to be a
Mhm.
defensive gym and locking down everybody,
Right.
but if they can make sure Bam continues to stay out of this series and stay in Miami, but his body's there, but his soul
Mhm.
is not there. I think they'll be cooking with grease on defensively.
Yeah, and the Hawks have done a good job defensively on the Heat's bigs, because Bam Adebayo has not gone off
Yep.
yet, nor has PJ Tucker. So they've
Right.
done a solid job there. And that's why I think that's still a place where they can take advantage. And that really does start with something that we called out after game one that we then saw in game two, and that was putting John Collins in at the five. It really worked effectively. So I
Yes.
want to see them do that. And then I'm going to give one more intangible, and that is the Hawks have to keep their head. There was one
Yes.
play in particular that was a microcosm of what we have seen whenever they kind of go down that rabbit hole. And that was Trae not getting a foul call. And instead of getting back on defense, he was forcing the issue with the referee. Now, I do understand gamesmanship. Sometimes in your post-game pressers, that's maybe where you call that piece out.
Of
But you
course.
have got to not take that time when you need to get back on defense to argue with the referee about something
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
going to be wrapped up. Not, at least not in that moment. It's not going to change. So, but when we come back, something that also has not changed, if you mess with Mike Tyson, he will let you know, not today. So when we get back, we'll tell you a little bit more about it. And for the culture, it's ATL Day Ones, Jarvis and Tenitra. We'll see you on the other side.